Welcome back to the Razor Crest Journals. This show is going to be more frequent now that I've got some personal matters taken care of. My hope with this show is that I'll read you articles and discuss what I know and what I think might be happening. I'm not the be all end all of Star Wars information or The Mandalorian. Other than that, I'll have discussions with some of you regularly, and I'm hoping later on down the road we can have a discussion show after each new episode that comes out. Without further ado, I'm going to hit news, starting with an IGN report. Baby Yoda gifts, or as you call it, GIFs, removed over Disney copyright issues. Article goes to say, not only has Star Wars The Mandalorian captivated fans with its space western vibe, but the show's brutally adorable breakout star, Baby Yoda as they're calling it now, has become the internet's prized, memeable, GIF-able possession. Not only do fans create their own GIFs from the series, as well as share on my Facebook page, but they show them on social media, publications do as well for the purposes of recaps, reviews, pieces involving deep dives into theories and lore. Disney, however, has pulled the plug on some of these gifts, as noted by Vulture's critic Catherine Van Ardonk. I apologize, Catherine, if I'm misspelling your name. And she goes to point out, want to know something very dumb? All of Vulture's Baby Yoda GIFs have been removed from Giphy for copyright reasons. This doesn't really surprise me. This is something Disney has done before. They're trying to protect their property. I think they're funny at times. Sometimes they annoy me. I know they really, really are getting to the point of where they annoy a friend of mine, a very close friend of mine, Jim. But that said, until somebody comes along with something else that's probably as funny or as entertaining or captivates everybody, this is what it is for now. I'll have this article, if you want to read more about it, posted at the bottom. You can see this at the end of the YouTube video. The next article I have up, Disney will release Baby Yoda merchandise for the holiday season. I'm not going to read too much into this. I've been seeing that people are offering 3D prints available for free. That if you've got a 3D printer, you can create your own Baby Yoda. I've seen people that have been making their own Baby Yodas. This is no surprise. I mean, it's popular right now. So, I mean, Disney has got something that's going to be a cash cow. I don't blame them, if you don't like it, I say, vote with your money. And what you can do is fold a $20 bill in half, tuck it in your pocket, and you've just doubled your money if you don't like it. If you do, hey, more power to you. That said, I'm not going to really get into this article, but I will post it below. You can read it. I'm going to get into some other topics. The one that caught my eye this week was from CBR.com. And what they say in the article is the Mandalorian co-creator won't rule out a Boba Fett appearance. And let me read the article to you and then we'll discuss. After a reshuffling of the Star Wars canon following Disney's acquisition of Lucasfilm, Boba Fett, the stoic bounty hunter who fell into a battle in the first act of Return of the Jedi, returned to the grave after several decades worth of novels, comics, and video games that had depicted him as having survived the Sarlacc pit. Fans have since searched for any indication that the current canon might bring him back once again. For those that don't know, canon is what they consider it's happened or is happening. While you'll have movies and TV shows such as The Mandalorian, those things are considered canon. So if there's a book that ties into that it isn't necessarily something you have to read, but it'll add a little bit of frosting to the cake, if you will. That is considered canon. Back to the article, though. Fans have searched for any indication that the current canon might bring him back once again. Some believe that Disney Plus's The Mandalorian will do just that. Director Dave Filoni certainly seems to open... Mr. Filoni seems certainly open to the possibility. In an interview with Entertainment Weekly, he stated, "There's always the possibility. I don't like to limit our storytelling in any way. Who knows? I've been surprised. Filoni then added, it would really be hypocritical for that guy to have helped bring Darth Maul back to life, to say that somebody can't survive the Sarlacc pit. What he's saying is that in the animated series, Clone Wars, as well as Rebels, and then the Solo movie, Darth Maul has been brought back to life. He was originally killed off in The Phantom Menace, but because there was such a demand to bring him back, fans pushed and Mr. Filoni heard, and they did some really great stories with him. I'm hoping that we don't see him for the last time in Solo. Um, if you've watched the animated series Rebels, they do give a sort of finality to Darth Maul. That said, getting back to the article, fans will know that while Boba Fett possessed similar armor, weaponry, and skills, the bounty hunter is not a true Mandalorian. I know a lot of people have always thought that he was. I believe at one time Marvel Comics, when they had the rights to doing the series, made it out that Boba was a Mandalorian, but because of the prequel trilogy, they established that Boba is a clone of Jango Fett. And Jango, to my knowledge, was adopted by Mandalorians, but he's not actually a true Mandalorian. The article goes on to say Boba was created on Kamino at Jango's request in exchange for giving the cloners permission to use his genetic material to create a clone army. On top of that, the government of Mandalore disassociated themselves with Jango, claiming that the bounty hunter was not Mandalorian at all and that he had simply stolen their armor. So if Boba does not return to the franchise in The Mandalorian, it certainly will be interesting to see how the crumbling warrior society greets him. I don't think, and knock on wood, I do have a wooden desk. First off, I don't think that Boba has been in the show yet. I know some people had a theory that when the Mandalorian was walking through the hallway of that housing that keeps most of the Mandalorians on the planet they haven't given us a name on yet, that he was seen in the background. I looked at that pretty close, didn't see him. I think I mentioned that in the last episode. Would Boba Fett pop up in the show? Anything's possible. Me personally, I'm okay if they don't bring him back. I'm more interested in them establishing this character and maybe giving some side characters we've seen in the past that were minor, bigger parts. I'd love to see Bosk back. I mean, we didn't get IG-88, but we got IG-11, which is to me basically the same thing. I'd love to see Dr. Everson and Ponda Baba. Some people know Ponda Baba as Walrus Man pop up. He showed up, well, the two of them rather, showed up in Rogue One just briefly. I think it would be interesting to see those characters back, but that's just me. I know that my tastes aren't always the same as everybody else. Anyways, I'll post up this article if you'd like to read it in more detail. Next article up is from Fantha Tracks. I get a lot of information from these guys. They've got some really good stuff. The grandson of John Wayne doubles for The Mandalorian. I thought this was kind of a cool article. The article says, considering The Searchers arguably the Duke's greatest film, the Duke being John Wayne for those of you that don't know, was an influence on Star Wars, there's a satisfaction in knowing that Brendan Wayne, the grandson of movie legend John Wayne, plays a part in The Mandalorian. Before I go any further, a lot of people don't know this, that John Wayne's voice was used for, I always say his name right, my friend Cynthia is going to kill me, Gadarian. He was the guy that had the snout, and he informed the Empire where Han Solo's Millennium Falcon was, and where the droids and Obi-Wan and Luke, Docking 94, were going to be. And he had that recording kind of voice that was like, wah, wah, wah. That was John Wayne's voice, actually, that was sped up a particular way. You can look that up on the internet. Interesting tidbit, but I think it's even more interesting reading this article that John Wayne's grandson is a stunt double on here. The article says Brandon Wayne got his start in the family business in a 2001 episode of Angel. And since he's appeared in a lot of movies and TV shows, from The Fast, the Furious to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. to Sons of Anarchy, in The Mandalorian, the younger Wayne appears in episodes 3 through 6 as one of the doubles for the titular character. The Wayne family is now officially part of the blockbuster world their paterna families helped inspire. If you've never seen The Searchers, it's a really awesome film. For that matter, John Wayne is definitely a legend. And again, I just think it's really cool that John Wayne doesn't tie in once, but now twice to the Star Wars franchise. You can read this article on Fantha Tracks. I will post it at the bottom. Next up, Werner Herzog and Carl Weathers are in the news again. They talk about seeing spoiler on the set of The Mandalorian. At this point, if you haven't seen episode 3 and you're watching this video, I don't know why you're here unless you just want to see spoilers. That said, I'm rolling forward and I'm going to start talking about certain things if you haven't figured that out, namely the Baby Yoda. The first episode of The Mandalorian, the first episode of the new live-action Disney Plus series, ended with the big reveal that the bounty hunter, the titular Mandalorian, has been chasing all episode as not a 50-year-old adult, but actually a baby in the same species as the Jedi Master Yoda. Much like Yoda in the original trilogy and The Last Jedi, it turns out that the character was created not through CGI, but as a practical effect on the set of the TV show. 2 of the series stars, Carl Weathers and Werner Herzog, spoke about about what it was like to see the character on set during interviews conducted at the series premiere screening and cast the Q&A did last week, or the other week now. Herzog spoke with Variety about seeing the character on set and had high praise for the techniques that were used to create the effect. He said that seeing the character was heartbreaking, and on the set it looked absolutely convincing. It made you cry when you saw it, Herzog says. There's a video connected to this. I'm not going to play it. Meanwhile, Weathers spoke about his character with Reuters. I'm getting all tongue-tied here. Meanwhile, Weathers spoke about the character with Reuters, saying, "You have to see the show to figure out who this Baby Yoda is and what he is all about. Or even if he is a Baby Yoda, he has his own name, and he is very interesting and knowledgeable and very cute. I never say that word, but he is a cute little guy." In the second episode of The Mandalorian, we see that the character has already got a deep connection with the Force and able to use the Force to lift objects that are far larger than him. So it'll be very interesting to see what the character knows and can do as the series continues. The third episode of the series was just released the other night. The Mandalorian, it talks about the show, of course. I'll post this link and you can read the rest of it and see the videos with Werner. On to our last article for tonight, which discusses last Friday's episode, the episode called The Sin. This is a Collider article, by the way. Here at Collider.com, we've firmly established that every single staffer would, in fact, die for Baby Yoda. And The Mandalorian in episode 3 confirmed that our titular bounty hunter is a hard saying. The Sin was a little thin on plot, and I can kind of agree with that. But it did kind of make up for it by basically being John Wick 2 in outer space, starring a Batman who is super down with committing laser blaster murder. The perfect genre, basically. Here's the gist. Pedro Pascal's masked but assumedly hot Mandalorian successfully delivered his bounty to the client, Werner Herzog, but then remembered he won't be able to buy Baby Yoda merch until next month. Like the rest of us, this sent him into a murderous rage, and our unknown Mando broke every rule of the Bounty Hunters Guild, noted sticklers for don't shoot the customers in the face, and retrieved the adorable little green so-and-so from his captors. Trapped in staring down the blaster held by Carl Weathers, along with our friend Dominic, who is playing one of the characters in the show. Congratulations, Dom. The Mandalorian looked to be a sure goner until the rest of his helmeted clan rose up from the underground to deliver a jetpack justice. Did it always make total sense plot-wise? It was almost a beat-for-beat scenario I'd come up with at 14-year-olds high as balls and in between rounds of Rogue Squadron on the Nintendo 64. Absolutely, and for that matter, at least I appreciate the sweet spot Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni are currently nailing. So there's a lot of questions they throw down. I'm going to just kind of glean through some of these. Why do Mandalorians keep their helmets on when... I'm not going to read that. You'll read the article and you'll see why I chuckle. One of the questions I've been noticing people talk about is Baby Yoda a clone? I personally don't think he is. I seem to recall somebody saying that something about Jedis can't be cloned. I could be wrong. I don't know. Please don't hold what I'm saying as the Holy Grail. But something tells me he's not. I think there's something else going on with him. I think that the Empire would like to clone him or try to figure out what they could do with, I hate to say the word midichlorians, but maybe they want to try and implant them and come up with some sort of army. I just don't know yet. I'm along for the ride. I've got some speculation as to things. I'm trying to come up with more interesting thoughts. I mean, some people think that Baby Yoda is, in fact, Yoda's son. It could be possible, but it's hard to say just yet. The article does talk about that. Another article, or part of the article rather, is Dr. Pershing, the guy who claims that he helped save Baby Yoda. What is his agenda? I'd like to know. Again, I think they're trying to find out if there's a way they can put midichlorians into stormtroopers and make them more powerful. I've read articles that say this is the beginnings of what will eventually be the Force Awakens. This will tie in and maybe even explain Snoke's backstory. Anybody's guess right now. Scrolling through, am I going to have to watch Baby Yoda die with my own two eyes? I think Disney is not going to allow Baby Yoda to die. I've got a friend that's ready for Baby Yoda to get off the screen. I'd like to see Baby Yoda maybe age and have the series progress. I always find it interesting if like say at the end of the season 8 we get a time stretch and then the next season picks up 5-6 years later. I mean, again, I'm just kind of spitballing here what I think. Uh, my guess would be that at some point, well, not some point, but at the end of the series, we're going to get a cliffhanger of some sort. But again, I know that they have said that they have based some of the Baby Yoda and the Mandalorian story off of a comic book series, and it was also done as a movie, Lone Wolf and Cub, not Club, as well as things like Clint Eastwood's trilogy, The Man with No Name. I totally see both of these. In fact, when I look at Baby Yoda in the comic book Lone Wolf and Cub, you could totally see that Baby Yoda in the face kind of looks like the baby in that series. If you've never read Lone Wolf and Cub, I highly recommend it. Check it out, and you'll see why I see comparisons between this series and The Mandalorian. Other things that they might ask: how did our main Mandalorian survive the Great Purge? Right now, I'm guessing they keep talking about him, donating that Beskar, those chips to foundlings. My guess is that the Mandalorians have adopted children that were separated from their families during the Great Purge. How he survived, I'm going to guess that maybe some Mandalorians swooped in and saved the day. Fairly simple, and then, in a sense, adopted him and trained him in the ways of the Mandalorian people. I'm sure the series is going to touch at some point in more depth. I know other people have noticed the robes that he wears along with his parents, and there's a lot of theories as to he might have been related to Padme. I don't think so. I think maybe he was some sort of royalty, but it's really hard to say. Again, it's just a guess. Um, who was the Mandalorian? If you do some digging around, Pedro Pascal has already revealed his name. I'm not going to spoil it here for you. I know I will do some spoilers from time to time, but if you do a search and just type in Pedro Pascal names the Mandalorian, you could see the interview where he does, in fact, say the name of the character. I think we're going to find out more of him, about him rather, as the series goes. I mean, that's not even a shocker, really. Uh, I don't think he's Boba Fett. I know some people think he is. I don't. Other than that, that's pretty much it for this week. I'm going to keep it short and sweet. Again, I apologize. I've had some personal matters going on. My hope is to be bringing you daily videos Monday through Friday, and then maybe on Saturdays, if I can figure out how to get it going, I'm going to do like a conversation with a couple friends, and we'll have a roundtable of sorts discussing the most recent Mandalorian episode. Like I said before, if there's other news regarding Obi-Wan or Cassian Andor or any factual news, not some garbage like Mara Jade's going to have a series or Darth Maul. Right now, I think those are just rumors that people are putting out, not fact. If I have something that's viable or interesting enough to talk about regarding possible other series, I'll bring those up and we'll discuss. Other than that, this is it for this episode tonight. I'll be back with more. Thanks for watching. Links will be posted below. Please subscribe to my show. Please tell your friends. Thanks and have a good evening.